Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Meta Cafe. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back with me, and let's chat about the astrology, the human design, whatever it is that we think of that we want to talk about from the sky and how it affects us today and into the week. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I swear weekends go by so fast. And when here in the US, I don't know if the rest of the world participates in this madness, but we changed our clocks and we changed them forward an hour. So everything feels weird, surreal almost to me this morning, in that, first of all, yesterday or the day before, it wasn't this dark at this time. It was getting lighter in the morning, and I was really enjoying that lift of light in the morning. And last night, timing was all off because the sun was setting much later. It's just weird when that happens. And I know many states are considering new rules and laws that are going to abolish the changeover to daylight savings time. But of course, in my state, Washington, they want to put us on permanent daylight savings time. So we have some states that want to keep it just the way it is. Some states want to go on standard time, and others yet that want to go on savings time. And in some cases, it makes sense. When you're further north, of course, it's darker in the winter. No matter what you do really with the clocks, it gets darker in the winter. And the further south you are, the more hours you add to the light, of course, the hotter it is throughout the day, or so it seems. So I don't know that there's any clear decision here, except maybe just to keep everybody on standard time. So we don't have to keep doing this crazy dance with the time and the clocks. And I find myself running around going, oh, wait, that clock's not right. I sat in the car the other day, yesterday afternoon, and I couldn't tell you what the right time was because I don't know, the clock was messed up. Anyway, just weirdness. I don't like the time change. So, anyway, I hope everybody else is doing okay with it and that you didn't forget about it. I see quite a few of you out here this morning. Let's just say a quick hello. Good morning, Mimi, and good morning, Rebecca, and Debbie Hedden, and Colleen, and Vicki Smith. It's great to see you ladies out there. And I'll say hi to others as everybody else checks in. So, we have an actually pretty good week ahead. At least it begins out the week Monday through Wednesday, let's say, in a pretty fair energy, not necessarily too many ups and downs, although, of course, you know that there's always ups and downs throughout the day. But as we get toward the end of the week, wow, some craziness ensues, and we'll want to talk about that. We'll talk more about that, of course, as the days go by. But let's just get a quick look ahead. There's nothing this week that is like banner shaking, earth shaking, although I know there are, I read a lot of different sites out there, and there are a lot of people that point to today as having some kind of impact because today is an anniversary date of the very large earthquake that happened in Japan in 2011 that created the tsunami and then the nuclear meltdown at one of their power plants. And anniversaries like that tend to have a reverberation throughout the years. That happened to occur on the day that the planet Uranus was moving out of Pisces, a water sign, and into Aries, fire. And here we are some 7.5 years later, and we've just experienced Uranus moving out of Aries and into Taurus. So what kind of an impact might we feel? I don't know. If we were going to feel it, if it was that, if it was that Uranus like, we probably would have felt it the day that Uranus actually made the move into Taurus. As far as I know, we didn't experience any huge impacts that day. Nothing that was untoward or different than what we'd already been building up to over the course of time. So we'll just have to watch out. This is also the week in the Shakespeare play Julius Caesar that we are hearing the sound of death and et tu Brute, and also the saying beware the Ides of March, which as I looked that up, I thought was maybe a span of days, but is literally March 15th, which is on Friday. And it came from the warning of a seer that was trying to warn Julius Caesar about his impending doom. And so the 15th of March is forever sort of indelibly locked in our minds as a day of warning or a day of, beware of something, right? So as we look at the week ahead astrologically, Friday is a very busy day. And it is a day when we might want to, after the 14th, Thursday, which is a red letter day, with a lot of, I think the 14th almost leaves me breathless, and it almost makes me want to come on air Thursday morning to talk to you all about it, because Thursdays typically I'm not on air. And I may just decide to do that because there is so much going on the 14th. The 15th, busy day. 16th, busy day. 17th, lovely day, especially 16th in the evening into the 17th, the Saturday and Sunday, where the moon transitions into Leo, and we are gearing up for fun and play and lightness. So with the beginning of the week is just slow. The middle to the end of the week ends up being very busy. And as we get to Saturday and Sunday, the weekend, it gets more and more playful as we go along. I think everybody likes that. St. Patrick's Day, Sunday, right? A day to play and celebrate the luck of the Irish, right? So we start the week today with the moon in Taurus, not doing any weird dances. It is just in its normal self here. No strange other planetary energies focusing on it. No void of course. We have a day of actually being or feeling pretty darn good, feeling pretty grounded and down to earth. The moon in Taurus is sensible. Sense meaning has a lot of feeling. A lot of the senses are heightened in Taurus, the sense of taste and smell, touch, and our sense of hearing, things like that. So when we have the moon in Taurus, then we could use the word sense able, not sensible, like down to earth, being cool and, that kind of thing, but more all of your senses are kind of lit up and able to be used in a way to help you move through your day. Some of you may become more hypersensitive today because not only is the moon in Taurus, but it's grounding in with the energy of Saturn and Pluto. That keeps us very grounded, but it's also kind of flighty as it is also in a sextile to Neptune. So we are being lit up both from the physical dimension, but also from the higher dimensions, the spiritual dimensions. Your intuition, maybe your spidey senses, let's say, might be on higher alert. I know I was sitting here before I started this morning feeling, I don't know, I don't want to say a sense of dread because it really wasn't that, but just a feeling like we're bracing for impact. And in human design, of course, the earth this week is sitting at the gate of impact. It is sitting, and the sun, I want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. Hold the phone 1 minute. Yeah, it's not until we get to the 14th, actually, that the earth ends up holding the energy of impact. So, I mean, it's possible that what we're sensing is something coming for the week. And who knows what that means? It's not anything I would get afraid of, but just know this might be a week that's building up in its energy, then it breaks, and then it wanes down to a more calm weekend. So, that what can you say? That's just life, right? The energy builds, breaks, and then wanes. That's just the way. That is sort of the way of astrology in the first place, because planets, as they're moving through the signs in your chart, are doing the same thing as they're coming into contact with planets. It's sort of building, and then it hits the conjunction, let's say, or the exact square or opposition. The energy breaks, and then it wanes, and things go back to quiet again. So, the most interesting I think about this week and even into the first couple of days of next week is that we are winding down the astrological year. So what we may also be feeling is this sense of things winding down or coming to completion. And next week on the 20th, when we end the astrological year and begin the new astrological year, it is also the day of the full moon. So we may be feeling all of this buildup to something breaking, something completing, something becoming revealed, and then we end up, moving into new energy. So this is a week and in the beginning of next week for us to bring some things into conclusion. If there's anything in your world that you've been sort of wanting to let go of, or that you've been noticing that isn't in alignment with what your goals or ambitions are now, then it may be time for you to actually rip off that band-aid and let it go. As in, we are in the closing of the astrological year. When we get to the spring equinox, or for you listening that are down under or on the other hemisphere, the other side of the time zone, you may be, entering into the autumn equinox. Either way, it's the same energy for you as well, that of finishing up some things and getting ready to open up to new energy. The energy when the sun moves into Aries is new. It begins the new 12 sign zodiac impact for the year. So in reality, our January 1st new year, really, in the grand scheme of things, is arbitrary. It has no real meaning to us. It's false. It's a false meaning. And so we are often putting ourselves into or forcing ourselves into a pattern of beginning something new at a time that really isn't in our best interest. It doesn't really jive with the rest of the system. It doesn't jive astrologically to begin anything even what would that be, about 7 days into a new sign, in 7 days into the sign of Capricorn. um it might have made sense if we started the new year on the winter solstice. It, it just doesn't make sense, right? So we're arbitrarily and falsely focusing on something new at a time of the year that really isn't about the new. But here we have, heading into March now, the energy of, or heading into the next week, we have this energy of something new, of being in new. So whatever it is that we need to finish up now, this is the time to finish it up, right? And it's a great time to look now at what are your ambitions? What are your goals or your dreams? What drives you, right? What is the driving force in your life right now? And if the things that you are still holding yourself to aren't in alignment with that drive, then you are arbitrarily and falsely holding yourself to incorrect energy. And it will feel sort of like an albatross around your neck, you're dragging it along with you, right? Baggage, excess baggage that you don't need and need to work with the energy of letting go. So this week is a week that we begin that process of closure and completion and letting go, and going through the checklist in your mind and determining whether some of the things that you're engaged with are correct for you or not. In human design, it's interesting because the moon represents, rather than our emotional selves or our connection to our emotions, the moon is what drives you. It is literally more of an action figure in the grand scheme of things than it is a very passive figure. So even though it still maintains its qualities that we think of as the moon, it puts those qualities to work in a way that's driving you to take your life purpose and move forward with it. And that makes it a very important piece. Those top three, the sun, the earth, and the moon, and then north node, south node, are sort of the top four things that we can look at that really hold a lot of your purpose and drive for being here in this lifetime right now. Now, in behind the scenes today, anyway, we have Mercury in a bit of an irritating semi square, we call it, with the planet Venus. And a semi-square is 45-degree angle between the two planets. So a square, as we know, is a challenging configuration or aspect, and it is 90 degrees. So a semi-square, meaning half of that square, is where we get 45 degrees, and it still holds some of that challenging energy, only it's more of an irritant than an actual gauntlet that's laid out in front of you. And the irritant for Mercury and Venus right now would be that there's a bit of an unrest within us, a bit of an impatience, sort of a niggling, like, let's get this ball rolling, right? Let's be done with this and move on, right? Let's get to something new. And I think a lot of that is because of the energies that Mercury's retrograde, right? So it's not really a great time to start something new. If you're working on something already, it's not a problem. But if you decide that, you want to totally change paths, this might not be the best time to do it. But this is also Venus in Aquarius, where she's thinking big, and she's thinking, she's thinking toward the future. Mercury is faced in the past. So we've got them sort of moving in opposite directions, if you will. And in that then becomes a little bit of unrest, right? A little bit of irritation, a difficulty in concentrating. Think about having your focus in two different directions. And what does that usually mean? Well, it usually means it's hard for us to split our focuses like that. Our foci. Anyway, it's harder to do that. So what we try to do then is take care of both. And the more we do that, the more irritated we get. So today is a day, just you'll have to understand you may have difficulty in concentrating, because if you're looking ahead at something, but then your mind might drift you back to the past and so on and so forth. You may go back and forth like this. Not to worry, right? It is just momentary. It is Mercury moving backwards will separate from Venus moving forward fairly quickly, maybe a day or two of this kind of, irritation that's just under the surface. Not only that, it's hard to put your thumb on or your finger on exactly what it is that may be the source of the irritant or the discomfort. So I think you just go with the flow on this one, right? You just have to, you can't do anything about it except change your mind about what you feel about it or what you think about it. So just allow it to flow through you. Now, I wanted to talk about the biggest news of today is the fact that the moon is conjunct Mars. And that's happening like even as we speak, right? This is an early morning moon connection. And as we get later into the day, this is also going to wane. But this is an energy where the moon, this is like having the moon in Aries, right? Mars rules Aries, and Mars is a planet that we think of as action oriented, dynamic, sometimes assertive, also aggressive, and is impatient with waiting. And Mars is in a sign right now that he is very impatient in. He's in the sign of Taurus. The moon and Mars now conjunct in Taurus. In fact, they're conjunct at 16 degrees of Taurus, so mid degrees. So we are just like at the shift point. Remember last week we talked about the degrees of the zodiac, and up until you get to about the 15th or 16th degree, you're learning everything everything that you need to know about that sign. The mid degrees begin the shift, right? Where now you're taking the energy of book learning, let's say, and now you're applying it. And so now the moon and Mars, actually, I would say the moon is triggering Mars to take the lessons he's learned about patience, about taking one step at a time, and about being deliberate in the way that you do things, and saying, now you got to apply those book learned lessons to your actual life. In the short term, it can make for some irritations as Mars is like, oh God, I've got another 15 degrees where I have to sit and be, slow, where I'm actually demonstrating how it is to be deliberate in my focus and deliberate in my actions. You can kind of feel that energy. I know I feel it in some of the things, like last week I began the pre-launch of my membership program and my Living Astrology Academy. And I've actually been quite deliberate in how that's been going along. I didn't splash it out there in a big way yet. It will be that way probably as we get into the 20th of March, where things are more set. And it's been this very slow, but yet deliberate sort of launching of that program for me. And I felt like at first, I just wanted to take it and go out and be big and, get it out there. But then the energy slowed down. And of course, I was aware of what was happening. So I became more deliberate in my execution of those plans. Now, it's not perfect. Mercury's in retrograde. I'm finding all kinds of things that I should have done, shoulda, coulda, wouldas. But the point is, we are all able at this point, if we slow down and we become more deliberate in our execution of our goals and our dreams, then we see how the benefit of being more deliberate and slowing down in the way that we do things. So I wanted to take a look in the short term here today at this moon conjunct Mars, because from a human design perspective, because it is sitting at a gate that we often think of as a money gate. I'm going to show you a human design chart for just now, the just now chart, which is the chart of today. And this is Monday, March 11th. Pulled this at about, well, it was my time about almost 8 o'clock. And hi, Susan. I'm so glad you are. Thank you. So you notice that if you were born today, you would be a reflector. We've had a couple of days in the last couple of weeks like this, right? Where the chart I pull and I'm like, wow, that is a reflector. The rarest type, right, of all the types. And so any babies born today, you're all probably going to be reflectors. And it is kind of interesting to see that show up. It means that you have no extra defined centers in your chart right now than what you have from your own birth, right? So no new definition in the centers that you need to worry about. But what we do have is energy that ends up hanging in our charts, or in some cases you guys may find that what's hanging connects to another hanging gate that you have at the other end. And then you end up in a position of having your centers personally turn on. So if you have your own human design chart, then you can see, oh gosh, if I carry gate 14 and it hangs, then the moon this morning is connecting that up. Now I'm working for money, right? The two end of the deal, where the moon and Mars are this morning in a conjunction, is the managing of the money that the gate 14 earns. So gate 14 sitting on the sacral is a gate that we often think of as the impetus to go out and earn money. They're not necessarily, it's that they like the idea of receiving money for the work they do. It could be receiving shells for the work they do. If we traded in shells, if we traded in wampum, it would be the same thing, right? If we traded in blankets and in barrettes, whatever, right? It wouldn't matter what the medium is. They just like working for that sort of gratification. The gate 2, however, with Mars and the moon, likes to manage wealth, likes to manage that income to put it to good use, right? It's not the energy to make money that Moon and Mars are at right now. It's the gate to learn how to manage money. They have comfort. And what maybe, in our minds is, we've had a year so far where I've been telling you all, there's a lot of financial focus this year, and it's about conservatism or being a good steward of your resources. The moon and Mars at gate 2, compelling you to take action on that exact thing, right? Being resourceful. I'm going to tell you a funny little story here this morning. I went to print the just now chart, and I forgot, typical Mercury retrograde, to tell my printer to print only one page, because this comes along with like 3 or 4 pages. Now I had to sit here and be patient because I couldn't stop the printer mid-print to stop it from printing all 4 pages. And I took the first 2 pages and I was irritated, and I take them and I throw them down here on the floor where I have a basket here for recycled paper. And I went, wait a minute, I can reprint on that paper. So now I'm telling myself, oh yeah, you need to dig that paper back out of there, because for some things you could just print on the other side. I went, oh my God, Janet, you have taken resourcefulness and frugality to the nth degree. So kind of funny little story. But if you find yourself doing that, it's a part of the energy that we're experiencing right now, where we are very cognizant of how we're allocating our resources, time, and in particular, money in this case, because at the other end is the money that comes in, and the gate 2 is the money that allocates those resources. Now, all energies, of course, have a a negative expression, the potential lower frequency expression, as well as the higher frequency expression. Well, at the low end of the expression of this energy is reckless spending, right? Reckless spending without the ability to generate money. So this might come up to, in your mind, like let's say you have a big expense that comes up that you didn't see coming. And do you go into panic, or do you go into, okay, so let's make a plan on how to generate the funds needed in order to get there? Well, in the low end, it doesn't have the ability to do that. It just spends recklessly. But in the high end, it sees that the ability is to just make more pies if necessary, right? We don't have to worry about running out of pies. We just make more. So you've got the extremes of those expressions, but in the middle expression, in the gift, let's say, level, it is about being able to spend wisely and to be able to allocate resources wisely, in not out of fear, but just managing them as a good steward of money, or a good steward of your time or your energy. Hope that makes sense to everybody. So it's an interesting day, and it is a trigger point. Mars is a catalyst. So when the moon hits a catalyzing force, then it begins the timing cycle for us, right? For learning about how to best manage our resources in this particular instance. And to that end, I have a couple of things for you about money then. Why not think about checking out Cornelia Stephanie's Millionaire Imprint for Women? Susan Glavin, who's joined us this morning, also a part of that. And they've brought to you various people, women that are very empowered to use money wisely, to help money grow, to budget, to do all kinds of things that we need to do in order to best utilize that as a resource. So you can check out that Millionaire Imprint for Women on corneliastephanie.com. And of course, you guys have met my Cornelia, because she is with me in Ascension and Astrology on Thursday afternoons at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. East Coast time on, as of this moment, the Living Astrology Facebook page. But that's soon to change as soon as we figure out how to magically broadcast on YouTube, which I know we can do. We just have to learn something. All right. So let's take a quick peek down at the other days of the week. What is it that I was looking at that I sensed a lot of power and action in? Well, for one thing, the sun is coming to a sextile with Pluto this week, at the same time squaring Mars. And that makes for a day of mixed signals. This will be on Wednesday with the moon in Gemini that day. We may be scattered, right? We may be applying energy this way, and that way. And it's a toss up as to whether that ends up being empowering or disempowering for us. So Wednesday, we're definitely going to want to watch the way that we are working with our energy that day. Thursday, wow, just this. I mean, Mars trine Saturn, Mercury conjunct the sun, the moon opposing Jupiter, squaring the sun, squaring Mercury, and sextiling Uranus. I say those things and I'm like, oh, wow, that is like a checkerboard of energy that the moon is bringing to us, but also other planets that day that will want to break that down. Thus, the reason I think I may come on live Thursday morning, maybe late. I don't know how I'm going to do that. We'll see. No, I have to get my hair cut Thursday morning. Oh my goodness. Well, maybe Wednesday we'll do an extended broadcast so I can give you Thursday's energies, because it's a crazy day. And then there's Saturday or Friday, not necessarily crazy, but still powerful, right? As there's still this energy of Neptune and Saturn and Jupiter that we have to contend with. By the way, Mercury retrograde, when it conjuncts the sun, signals that we're at about halfway point in that cycle. And then it is up to Mercury then to pick up new marching orders, if you will, from the sun at that point, take it backwards with him for a while yet, and kind of figure out how am I going to get this plan in action. And so after retrograde is over, which is March 28th, then we begin to see what the executable new plan is. So it's like we did the download, but we still haven't installed it. The installation will happen, of course, over time. And then when we hit to direct, we're ready to execute the program, right? So we'll be watching this week then for what comes up new for us. What seeds were planted by Mercury and the suns coming together on Thursday. You may feel inspired to want to take action immediately on that, but it won't be the right time yet unless it's something that helps you with a problem that you're dealing with currently or a project that you're currently dealing with. So Thursday, kind of a pivotal day in the week. Saturday is a green light day, but there's still a lot happening that day as it relates to the moon, but also Mercury. And then we get into St. Patrick's Day. The planet Mercury is kind of lightly and gently playing with the planet Mars. It makes for a day kind of a frivolity of maybe some trickster energies. It happens to be St. Patrick's Day, so some of you may be out there at St. Patty Day parades or parties or whatever you do for that day. Maybe hung over from Saturday night because maybe Saturday night was the preferred night to celebrate. I don't know. So just take it easy, but it's a more playful weekend than we've had for a while, as we have Leo as the dominant moon energy for that day or for those 2 days. All right, that's it for me. How's everybody doing out here? Rebecca, good morning. It is just hanging. Does that mean that we have to draw in that other part from the outside? Yes. So, but it doesn't happen purposefully unless you know your human design and you say, hey, I'm going to go hang around with that person today because she completes my XYZ channel and I can get more things done. Right? If you are that conscious of what your human design looks like and that conscious of what someone else's looks like, then you can do that. Otherwise, a hanging gate is just electromagnetically drawing in for you on your behalf people or energies that can complete you in some way. So, for those of you who have, say, a gate 14 defined, the moon is magically making that connection for you today, as is Mars. Right. So you may be taking action on things that are creating more financial stability for you. You may find that you've gotten yourself into an unsustainable financial situation and you want to take steps to correct that. That would be what those two energies coming together would be. Now, others of you don't have anything in that channel, but today, for this time, you're going to have the hanging gate 2. So you may become concerned about how it is that you allocate and manage your resources, time, energy, and money, and or your other resources that you have. And those of you who have gate 14 hanging, now with the moon, you've got it connected up. And others of you have the whole channel defined. You just have to know your own chart. But when you have hanging gates, they do tend to electromagnetically draw in the other completing side from the people around you or from the transiting planets. I hope that makes sense to you. Good morning, Laura. You can catch up definitely. Good morning, Janice. My way home is being paved for me. Yay. Linda, good morning to you. Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel, good morning to you. Jacqueline, Natasha, great to see all you ladies out there this morning. I'm going to draw us some cards to help us move through the week. And let's see what we come up with. And if there are any other questions about your human design, about the energy of the week, certainly you can ask those questions in the chat there. And let's see, this is for a card that overall is going to give us the sense of what this week is about. And it is the tribe. The tribe kind of came out upside down, but then again, it jumped out of the deck. So I'm not sure. So we'll kind of look at both. But I want to tell you something that I find fascinating about this particular card. Note the giraffe and the baby giraffe in the tribe, right? And there's a whole lot of other, things going on. This is card number 8. So we have a sort of God code number here. We have the number 8 that looks like it's infinity and maybe something very substantial in terms of your foundation. And of course, the tribe would sort of point that out to us, right? But The giraffe is what I find interesting because this morning when I turned on my computer, I don't know if your computers or your laptops do this, but in the morning when mine turns on, it gets booted up, and then a picture from Bing shows up on the landing page. And some mornings it's, soaring cliffs and, ocean vistas, but this morning it was a giraffe in the Sahara eating something, from a tree. And I went, wow, that's interesting. I love giraffes, right? And here we have giraffe. So what is it about giraffe energy that we are, or that I am at least, maybe you guys haven't picked up on, but that I need to pay attention to? Um, I may check that out later. Card number 8, though, the tribe. Oops, that's 7. There we go. The essential meaning of this card is community, belonging, being seen and understood by others, like-minded connections, a sense of family and friendship, knowing your place in the world. And I'm going to read both the protection and the oracle message because I'm not quite sure if this was upside down or right side up. This card signals a new affiliation with a group. Humans are social creatures, and we need to know we are useful to our tribes, families, and communities. In a tribe, everyone has an important function and feels I matter. Membership in the group provides a sense of belonging, of kinship, and of purpose that comes from working together for the greater fulfillment of all. Perhaps you are part of a spiritual community or an artistic one. Perhaps you are in a learning community where you share your love of education. Regardless of its form or focus, your community brings you joy. You'll be inspired by it and want to contribute to it. Your contribution may be as small as showing up or as large as becoming its leader. No matter your position in the tribe, your presence is needed. Now, in the protection message, it says, beware of compromising your integrity in order to belong. How do you dim your light or change yourself so others will accept you in the tribe? Do you hide who you really are in order to play a role within the larger whole? This will never fulfill you. Now is the time to assess your willingness to be real. Stand tall, be you. Authenticity is true self expression and the only way to empower yourself. Don't be afraid to be yourself and step into the role your heart tells you to take. Making yourself small bears too high a cost. That's great. I have sitting next to me this quote. I printed it and I was going to actually mat it and put it in a frame. This is Marianne Williamson's quote that says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about you shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in every one of us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Love that saying. Love, love, love that saying. I'm going to pull an animal card and I'm going to check real quickly while I'm getting that ready to make sure no one's asked me any other questions. Oh, Linda, poor baby. She has pneumonia, bronchitis, and a broken rib. How on earth did you get a broken rib? From coughing too much or? Oh, no. So we send you tons of healing energy, my friend, and I hope you are well. Get well. All right. Sending you much love to deal with your ex as well. All right. So now we're going to pull an animal card that is going to help us along the way this week. I think it would be really funny if we got giraffe, but it doesn't seem to be giraffe. It seems to be lizard spirit. Dream the world into being. Card number 38, which is an 11. Dream the world into being. That's a great reminder for us this week. 38. Okay. When was the last time you basked in the sun and allowed yourself to daydream, to imagine what might be and who you might become? Lizard spirit appears when you are called to let your imagination flow and dream something new. Inspiration is available to you now if you are willing to slow down and let your eyes close a little, allowing ideas to dance in your head. What might come into being if you were to pursue your dream? How might you grow and expand if you allowed yourself to dare to believe in the impossible? Making it possible first in your dreaming mind, making it possible first in your dreaming mind, and then in the world as you co create with spirit. Give in to the power of imagination, and soon your dream will become clearer. The steps will reveal themselves, and what was ephemeral will begin to coalesce into form. Dream it and be it. Spirit asks you to dare to dream big. That's a great, great card for this week of completion of the old astrological year. And as we begin to prepare, moving into the new astrological year. By the way, the signs that you see around you, the inklings that are coming up, the signposts around you are all information that will be around you for the entire astrological year. So, particularly as we walk through the portal on the 20th into the spring equinox and into the full moon, allowing ourselves to let go, release, complete, get revelation on anything that we need to know in order to move forward, this card comes into play, right? We're dreaming big, laying down the dream. If you can't dream it, then you can't be it. So, what a pretty, pretty card and a great message for us to start the week with. Okay, let me last check here. Any questions? No other questions. Great. So I hope you all have a wonderful day and a blessed week. It seems like we have a great start. Let's just keep it going in the right direction. Take care. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.